This past week, we got confirmation on the market about even more banks collapsing. Combine that with the fact that on one hand, we have bulls shouting that Bitcoin is going to hit $40,000 soon, while on the other hand, we have new reports talking about how this recession is far from over. We're really in between this crossroad yet once again, where a lot of people are still on the fence, unsure of what's going to happen next. By watching this video till the end, you'll have a much more clear understanding of what's really happening within these markets today. So at the time of filming this video, Bitcoin is sitting at around $29,500, right under the $30,000 level and still up about 4.5% for the week. If you guys went ahead and watched my last market update, we talked about how Bitcoin dropped from its $30,000 price level and how it would find support at that 50 exponential moving average, also known as the EMA on the daily chart, which is now confirmed that it's going to be its strongest support level yet. As of now, there's heavy resistance at the $30,400 price level, and in the past 2 weeks, Bitcoin has reached that price level 9 different times and even broke past it 6 times, but it hasn't been able to hold and close a daily candle above that $30,400 price level. So make a note here, if Bitcoin can break past that level and if it can stay above the price, we would be able to claim some new trading ranges anywhere between the $32,600 level or more. By taking a look at other altcoins within the market, we're going to be seeing a very similar price action pattern. Even very briefly today, we even saw Ethereum coming towards the bottom of that $1,800 price level and quickly bouncing back out. Now, in a time like today, we do still have some additional altcoins within the green, but we do have a fair amount of other cryptocurrencies in the red. One cryptocurrency that we talked about last week was PEPE coin, and today they're up about 15%. But if we pull it out to the last weekly chart, we'll notice that not much has happened within their price range. This is exactly what I talked about in my last video. Usually by the time you hear about a certain meme coin, you have a very small window of being able to make money. It doesn't mean you can't make money, because even on a day like this, they went up about 15%. So you're always going to be able to make some type of swing trade in between the moment where it is fluctuating. But I will say it is very risky to go in these type of trades. And if you're at a position where you're really trying to value and respect the money that you own, that you worked very hard for, then I would be ignoring a lot of these different type of meme coins, because this is definitely very similar to gambling. You may be able to win a few times, but eventually you will experience a loss, and it depends on how you react to those losses too. But most oftentimes when people get tilted, they end up throwing and folding their entire hand. Now, going back into what we've seen with Bitcoin, because this is still going to be the main cryptocurrency that is going to influence and impact a majority of the entire market. So it's been really interesting because Bitcoin on Wednesday experienced a violent flash crash where in just about an hour, it had dropped about 8%. Now, the reason behind this flash crash was initially because Arkham Intelligence, which is a blockchain analytics firm, sent out an alert claiming that wallets linked to Mt. Gox and the US government had begun selling large sums of Bitcoin. There were then rumors that this ended up becoming completely false, but then Arkham has gone ahead and made another tweet responding to that, saying that this was not false and this was actually true, but they don't believe that they were the sole reason why Bitcoin would have made a dump. This dump went ahead and resulted in over $150 million worth of Bitcoin getting liquidated at once. Now, when it comes to game theory on why Bitcoin reacts in one way or another, we'll never 100% know. I believe during a time like this where we're still pretty uncertain about the direction of the market, anytime we get even rumors of a news, this could upset the price of Bitcoin, but I see this as a strong opportunity. If you've been sitting out on the sideline for the past week or so and you wanted to build up another position within these markets, it's usually these crashes where you can get a little bit of entryway in. Expanding into the broader market, we got first quarter earning reports coming out this entire week, and to many people's surprise, it was actually a little bit better than expected. So more than a third of the S&P 500 companies that have so far reported those first quarter earnings as of Thursday, they came out with 81% beating analyst expectations. To go a bit more into detail, it was actually tech stocks that had a very strong quarter one earnings, and if it weren't for those tech stocks, it could mean that the stock market indexes would be feeling a bit more pain to end this week. More specifically, we had Coca-Cola saying that they had higher prices and volumes due to boosted sales as customers bought more drinks on the go. We had Meta, aka Facebook, recording its first increase in sales in nearly a year due to continued improvements within their advertising business. We had Microsoft reporting a revenue increase for the past 3 months through March, rising about 7% from a year earlier. We had Google reporting better than expected earnings and announcing an additional $70 billion in stock buybacks buybacks. On top of that, we have Pepsi Cola reporting higher quarterly sales and earnings, boosted in part by an uptick in their beverage volume. But not only that, it looks like McDonald's had actually had some more sales jumping up in the quarter. And that one actually comes to me at a surprise because there was a headline in the news not too long ago where McDonald's was claiming that they were going to be laying off a majority of their staff over in California. So with top companies reporting some rather good news, does this mean that we're out of the Dookie storm? Well, I'd say hold your horses because the earning reports may not be painting a full story on what's actually happening within the US in terms of economic growth. And this is because the Q1 GDP report was also released on Thursday morning, showing that the US economic growth had slowed down in the first 3 months of this year, and they severely missed the mark on GDP expectations. The big debate that many investors have right now is whether or not we're in a recession. But I think the question isn't whether or not we're in a recession. I believe that we have been in a recession because according to data, we've had 3 consecutive quarters of declining GDP, and the 2 quarters before that were also in a negative GDP. And that type of data would technically claim that we would be in the middle of a recession. So it's not whether or not we're going through a recession, it's we are in a recession, but how worse is it going to get and how long is it going to last? 2 additional points to back up the claim that we are in a recession is just the fact that right now, unemployment rates and massive layoffs have not been getting any better. Amazon reportedly cut 18,000 jobs in January, and they just announced that they will cut another 9,000. Meta's cutting 10,000 jobs over the coming months, which would be their second wave of massive layoffs. We have Google cutting 6% of its workforce, which is about 12,000 jobs. Yahoo's cutting 20% of its workforce. Now, in the case that the next few months is going to be the worst part of the recession and we start going upwards from there, I believe that is going to allow us to actually see more room for growth happening within stocks and crypto, but that doesn't mean we're not due for another further correction. Inside of my Patreon, you'll be able to get access to my entire game theory on what I think is going to happen during the recession and the play-by-play steps that I'm going to take in order to come out ahead. On top of that, for any crypto purchases, my buy-sell alerts, and just having overall access to an awesome community, our Patreon's been closed. It's been sold out for the last several months, but we will be reopening it soon. If you guys want to go ahead and join the waitlist, be sure to check out the link down below in the description, and I'll send you an email of when those spots open up. Now, going back into some of the biggest news so far for this week, well, we can't ignore this one here. Our boys over at Coinbase went ahead and filed a lawsuit to sue the SEC. So through this lawsuit, Coinbase is claiming that the SEC has not responded to its petition in a reasonable or timely manner and has instead pursued a strategy of enforcement against crypto businesses. And it seems like right now Coinbase has been in this limbo state. They just want an answer. They want to know whether or not this is a security. Are these yield-bearing interest accounts? Are they a green light or not? Even last week, we talked about Gary Gensler getting roasted by some of the other executives within our Congress. Guys, let me tell you, I am so happy to finally hear we have crypto companies who have been playing everything by the book to finally stand up for themselves against some of these giants within the industry who have been claiming rules and still just been making this entire space a lot more difficult to work in. With Coinbase's own frustration and the lack of clarity and communication from the SEC, I'm hoping that this entire lawsuit actually starts getting things straight. So maybe this will call for reform. Maybe we'll get someone new in charge of the SEC. Maybe the SEC will finally lose some of that power where they've been able to abuse it over the past few years. On top of that, First Republic Bank, guys, I feel like I can't wrap this video up unless I talk about this because this is a stock that got halted multiple times this past week. They are down about 95% since the banking crisis began back in early March. And it looks like for anyone who was buying shorts or they were maybe getting some put options, you'd be a bank. You would be making some good old money on this stock. And that's because they've continued to hammer down. And it looks like even with the most recent news we got, First Republic Bank is in much deeper trouble than we all expected. Keep in mind, the US Treasury encouraged about 11 of the biggest banks to rescue FRC and provide $30 billion worth of liquidity with the hopes of stabilizing the bank. It looks like that was just completely temporary and it didn't solve the issue at all. So ladies and gents, when it comes to this stock, at a certain point, you have to realize that things will get overbought, but I would play this so cautiously just because they have an enormous amount of debt. I don't know how much work or effort it's going to take for the government to continue bailing them out. I don't know if people are going to allow that to happen, if it's even fair for the democracy of our country. Take as an example, if you went bankrupt, if I went bankrupt, would the government bail us out and help us out? No, they wouldn't. But they're allowing this exception of the rule to happen with some of these banks just because it affects more people. This is one of those plays I'd keep an eye out on, just because at a certain point, I do think there will be an opportunity to make money, whether you're trying to short it or you're trying to go long or buy it because it is extremely oversold. But I think this is a very long-term play here, and just move with caution. Last but not least, Binance.us went ahead and backed out of the $1 billion Voyager asset purchase because of the entire hostile regulatory environment that we've been dealing with. Now, this here is pretty unfortunate news for any customer that had funds within Voyager, because it looks like this is going to continue to get even more difficult for anyone to get their money out. And let me tell you, even though I didn't have my money in Voyager, I actually had my money in Celsius. I had less than $10,000 in there. It wasn't a huge amount, but in this bear market, I'm telling you, every bit counts. And I was trying to go back in there and just realizing, man, these exchanges that went under, that went bankrupt, where is the justice? As we progress throughout the next few months and the next time we even get a bull market, because don't forget, the Bitcoin halving is going to happen in about 1 year from now. If the crypto markets decide to pick up once again, is the SEC still going to be in the state that they're in now, where there is just immense lack of any type of direction? If government entities were able to do their job properly instead of continuing to push off the harder answer, I do think a lot of people would have saved way more money, and they could have prevented an entire industry from collapsing. Let me know how you guys feel about all of this down below. And on top of that, if you guys are looking to get some of that money back, you can do it in the form of some free stocks. Be sure to check out the link down below in the description for Moomoo. You can go ahead and pick up 15 free stocks. I got my 15 free stocks not too long ago, and I did that just by depositing $100 to access a few of them. Then I deposited $1,000 to get the rest of them. And those stocks actually added up to be a decent amount. Mine ended up being over $70, but yours can actually be up to $3,000 depending on if you get lucky or not. So thank you all so much again for watching today's video. Be sure to check out the links down below in the description. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and I'll see y'all soon. Peace.